Hey guys, Atticus James here with atticusjames.com, and today we are talking about this cell phone booster. Now, before I get into this, I'd like to ask that if you guys haven't already subscribed, I hope that you take an opportunity and think about it, because I'm here to put out a lot of great content for you. I'm trying to focus a lot more on this channel and bring you guys quality content. So let's jump into it. So what we have here is the Surecall Flare. Now, for those of you who may live in the country, in a metal building, or you work in a building that gets bad cell reception, or no cell reception, you know the struggles that I went through. Now, as many of you guys know, I moved out to the country about 6 months ago, and I live in a metal building. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, a Faraday cage is essentially, in layman terms, a metal box that blocks all incoming and outgoing signals. It stops them dead in their tracks. So when you live in a metal building, you don't get cell reception inside the building without something to broadcast a signal inside. And that's where these guys come in. With the Surecall Flare, you have an antenna outside, which is this, that's going to be mounted to the roof of your building, and then you have the actual signal repeater inside the house, which is plugged in. And this is the installation I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, so you see I already have my ladder set up, and I've been testing out this system to verify that it works with my setup, to make sure that I'm getting the LTE out here, because my problem has been that I already had one of these systems and it did not work. It gave me 4G sometimes, so I wanted to verify that just before I hung up anything that I would get LTE. So that's why I have this ladder already here, and that's why it's hanging there. Now, my next thing that I had to do is go to Lowe's, and I had to pick up a grommet or a plastic brushing, so that way that it can go through the metal without cutting the coaxial cable. This was really important because if you don't do that, any kind of movement that you get in that cable is going to cut the cable, and then you're going to have issues in the long run. You don't want to be having to try and replace cables at a later date. So I will show you what I'm going to have to do with the brushing in a little bit, but I also had to pick up some gasket screws, so that way that when I put it onto this building, I'm not causing holes and leaks in my roof. So let's go and install this now. So like I said, we're going to install it here. I already have a brushing or grommet right in this wall, so I'm just going to run my cable right above this one to keep it nice and neat. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to have to go and remove my cable from the antenna. Now, before we do this, we have to go and unplug it, so that way that we don't fry any systems. So I picked up these coaxial cable connectors. The problem with them is that they are designed for installers. So before you go and when you just have the wire and you don't have anything else, you're supposed to run your wire through here. You're not supposed to have any connections on here. So my problem is that, how do I get the connection into that hole? We're going to solve that simply by cutting it. I'm going to do this very carefully, so that way that we don't break anything. But I'm just going to run it in my vise, and I'm going to just take a little hacksaw, and I'm going to cut a nice little hole, or a slot. Okay, so since my building is insulated, I have to have a longer screwdriver to be able to punch through the insulation, since I'm just using a tap. We're going to tap right above this. I want to be a little bit higher, so that way that I make sure that this plastic and this plastic aren't going to interfere with each other. We want a nice snug fit. So I don't feel like taking my, couple $1,000 camera up on the roof, up on a ladder and everything else, so I'm going to just go up here, take the cable, push it through the hole, and I'll meet you back outside. So here's where it's a little tricky for me. I'm going to have somebody on the inside maneuvering the cable through this tiny hole. I don't want a big hole because obviously I don't want bugs or anything else trying to come in through here, and I really want to keep it as closed up as possible. Okay, I need you to go down. What? No, okay, you pushed it, you pulled it back. Push. Got it, thank you. Alright, so now I had to wallow out the hole a little bit more, but we can go and push this into the grommet. Now we're gonna go and install the omnidirectional antenna. So obviously I don't want it here, because I don't want to be blocked by this. So we're gonna go up to the top one. Now I did go and get neoprene gasket screws that are self-tapping, so that'll make this a lot quicker for me. I'm gonna start self-tapping the first screw. This way that when I put my mic up, or my antenna up, I already have a hole pre-drilled and ready to lock it in place. Now we'll move on to the other 4 and we'll be good to go. Now I've already tested this spot where I want to put this, so I know that I'm going to get my best cell reception, or my best cell reception right here. We're going to go and pull up enough wire to get this to screw in, making sure that this is clear, no debris. Alright, so now we have my coaxial cable. We're going to hook it up to the antenna box. We can start receiving signal. Now I'm going to plan on put this up on the top, so I will have plenty of room down here in my workshop, not to have to worry about anything getting in my way, cables being anywhere. So we're just going to test it down here, and then I'll put it away. Plug this in, and now we're going to watch these signals. So this is going to take a second, and if we have no flashing lights, we're good to go. We want one green solid light, and that's it. The system is installed. So I guess we can go inside and check the signal, but I've already done this, and I have full bars standing right here. So as you can see, the installation for this system was very straightforward and very easy for me. I was just punching a hole, running the cable, plugging it in, and I was done. Now, the problem was, I said, oh yeah, I know that I've got signal, and that was great. And I did have signal, and I do have signal. The problem is that I installed this months ago. I installed it when it was a little bit colder out, and I have been sitting here trying to calibrate the system for my house. And I've finally done it to where I have calls, I have text messages, I have LTE inside of my house, in all of my house. So the problem was, I was putting it in a location that wasn't really that great. I put it up in my attic, so that way that it's not visible down here. And by doing so, I have a lot of stuff up there, and it was blocking the signal in a way that really wasn't conducive to getting cell service inside the house. Now, one of the things that I did find is that every now and then, it would work for a week, and then I would have to unplug it and plug it back in. I don't know what that was about, but once I finally found its final location where it's at right now, I found it's basically in the middle of the ceiling. It works great all the time. I get cell service, I get phone calls, I get everything. And I'm really happy with that, because now I can actually go and make phone calls to companies like this saying, hey, we'd like to do a review on your product. I don't have to go out and stand in the cold, because I'll tell you what, that's really no fun. I'm very thankful for companies like Surecall, because they're willing to work with the smaller guys because they want their name out there. I was given their information from a friend who works in a metal building, and he goes, man, this product works great, you've got to try it in your house. Because I had gone on Amazon and I bought one of those really, really cheap products, and I'll tell you what, those signal boosters do not work well. At least they didn't work for me. So when a company like Surecall has a much higher end, better system, you know you're going to get something. But be warned, you may have to go and fiddle with it for a little while until you find the exact location that fits for you. I'm very happy with this system. It works really well for me. It works well for my house, which is just a metal building, and it works even better when I'm in the shop because, again, there's nothing blocking the signal. Here I've got the ceiling that I'm dealing with, but again, I have 2 floors here, so when it's plugged in upstairs, obviously the upstairs gets a lot better cell reception because you're closer to the receiver than having to go through so many inches of ceiling. I'm Atticus James with GearsOfGuns.com. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye.